Welcome, everyone. I'm Rob Sahutsky.
Sergey Feldman.
And I'm Zach Miles. You're listening to Babble of the Beltway.
Welcome back, everyone, to week 10 of Babble of the Beltway. We are an NFL podcast where we know absolutely nothing because every week, whoever the good team is just completely whiffs and gets dunked on and destroyed by an 0-8 team, and nothing we say really matters. None of our analytics really matter. They just kind of flip a coin every week, and but you know what? That's okay, because we're going to keep doing all of this fake analysis work anyway, just for your entertainment, because that's how good of people we are. Unfortunately, this week, Zach is feeling a little bit under the weather. We are hoping that he will return later in this recording and be here for the Washington football team segment. We will keep you posted. Sergi, tell me, how was your weekend?
It was good. Actually, I did see Zach over the weekend. Zach helped me paint my house along with some other friends. And a good little story about that. We're painting a wall and there's an outlet. And Zach asked me, what do you want me to do about the outlet? You know, like a normal person, I would think that he's going to paint around it. But, you know, Zach and I have been friends for almost a decade. So I was like, I'll just be my usual sarcastic self and he'll figure it out. And I was like, oh, just give it the old landlord special. This man looks me in the face like, okay. And just goes over the whole thing with a roller. And I'm standing there for a second, just absolutely shocked. Like, it took me a second to register. Did he just seriously do that? I thought you were being serious, man. But yeah, also it was Zach's birthday. It was good to see him. Just turned 29. But yeah, long story short, do not be sarcastic with Zach Miles because he just can't tell, and he'll try and start a fire in your home.
Yeah, I guess he does not know much about house care, but that's fine. All in due time, Zach. All in due time. This weekend, I went to Top Golf for my friend Connor's birthday. I'd never been there before. Very cool place. It's basically you just take swings at golf balls on the edge of a cliff after drinking alcohol. So what could possibly go wrong? But it was a really good time, a lot of fun. I had never been golfing more than, I guess, mini golf in the past, so very cool experience. Also did a Thanksgiving with my family since I will be in Wisconsin next week celebrating the real Thanksgiving with my girlfriend's family. So lots of exciting stuff there. We'll have some awesome Thanksgiving games to talk about, hopefully. But let's get started with Weekend Recap.
Weekend Recap.
3, 2, 1.
For Weekend Recap of Week 10, we have decided that we will be making controversial statements. If you're not offended, you aren't listening hard enough. Up first, Vikings at Chargers. Controversial statement: the Vikings are a top 10 team. Now, I understand that Kirk Cousins deniers are screeching right now, throwing their fists up towards the clouds, saying this is wrong, everything is wrong. But we need...
Zach.
Just Zach, yeah. But we need to take a look at reality here. The Vikings, all 5 of their losses are to teams that are above 500, and they are all to basically 1 score or less. The Vikings are not a bad team. They have huge playmakers in various positions. They have Dalvin Cook, who is one of the best running backs in the league. They have Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the league. Kirk Cousins dishes the ball out well. He's not a superstar big playmaker, but he has huge games and he gets the job done. Adam Thielen, Conklin, a lot of people making plays when it matters. Now, Zach did kind of curse the LA Chargers because that's the thing that we just do on this podcast. We pick a team and we doom them. We just doom them for the rest of the season. Ever since Zach put the LA Chargers as his number 1 and I put him as, I think, my number 3, they have gone on a losing spree. So again, we apologize for the Babble of the Beltway curse. It strikes again. But in this game, Herbert was just like kind of unimpressive. Completes under 60% of his passes. He gets 1 TD and a pick, 195 total passing yards. Surprisingly, only 1 turnover-worthy play. Sergi and I had talked about this beforehand. We really think that his wide receivers just aren't doing a whole lot for him, and the lack of a consistent running game between the tackles is making it easy to play against him, and they're forcing him to try to be a gunslinger when his wide receivers aren't open. I think Herbert is a very good quarterback, but I mean, you can't make something out of nothing when your players aren't doing anything. But back to the Vikings. I do believe that right now they are a top 10 team. I think that their record is significantly worse than how they actually perform as a team. Justin Jefferson is probably a top 5 wide receiver. Eric Kendricks is either the best or one of the best coverage linebackers in football right now. Their team is playing very well. This is not a team that you want to go into a game expecting them to be a below 500 team or an easy win. They will catch you off guard, and they will beat you.
Yeah, just for some additional information, I mean, the Vikings have 5 losses in the season. They have not lost by more than 1 score the entire year. Like this is a good, solid team. And to clarify a little bit too on what's going on with the Chargers, it's really, I think, that absence of that, also that wide receiver too right now. But yeah, Mike Williams had a great start to the year, but now he's been hampered with that. It's an aggravated knee injury. You can tell that he's not playing his best. And then after Mike Williams, they can only turn to Josh Palmer, who's the 3rd-round rookie. I don't think he's really ready to step into a wide receiver 2 role in this offense. So Mike Zimmer's defense just gets the best of the Chargers here. Yeah, and I think that the Vikings, like I said, they won a lot of 1-score games. Same with the Chargers. Both these teams every week are just kind of a coin flip away from coming out victorious. So sometimes just the luck of the draw.
2 of their losses were in overtime to the Bengals and Baltimore, and the only reason they lost to the Cardinals was a missed field goal. They also lost to Dallas, so has almost every team that's played Dallas this year. They don't really have a bad loss yet.
Yeah, I could see them sneaking into a wild card spot in the NFC when it all said and done at the end of the year.
Yep.
All right, moving on. We have the Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs winning at 41-14. Now, controversial statement for this one. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs aren't back just yet, but they did have a great game. So this is what's really funny about watching this game. So the past few weeks, multiple teams, the Ravens, who else did the Chiefs come out and lose to? And I mean, not even just the teams they beat, the Giants. Patrick Mahomes looked like crap against.
He looked very, very bad in the Giants game. I honestly had picked the Giants, and I felt validated in how close it was. The Titans beat them pretty badly, and they struggled against the Packers without Aaron Rodgers as well.
These teams put out a blueprint how to play against Patrick Mahomes. You play a cover 2 shell. You play a bunch of defense where you're not letting guys get behind you. You eliminate the man coverage where you can. You play everything in front of you. You tackle securely, and you make them chip away and try and throw those short intermediate routes and not able to get that big play, frustrate them, and make them make mistakes. So what did the Raiders do? The Raiders ran single high safety 80% of the time. Patrick Mahomes only saw 6 passing snaps. 6 passing snaps on, I believe, I think he had some 40-something dropbacks in this game against any 2 safety look. The Raiders could have come in here and put together a good game, and it was just a complete breakdown in coaching. I don't understand how you as a defensive coordinator can see how every other team has come in to stop this offense and then decide to do the exact thing that they love playing against. So what happens? Patrick Mahomes goes off for 405 yards and 5 touchdowns against a bunch of man coverage throughout the game. The Raiders got a ton of pressure. They always get a ton of pressure. They have the highest graded pressure rating, I think, of this entire year. They didn't convert to a single sack, even though Mahomes was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. Why? Because once again, they're playing man coverage, and Patrick Mahomes is able to pick them apart through, he still has great playmakers. Tyreek Hill is still a great player. Travis Kelce is still a great player. Kind of a crazy stat too. Out of those pressures, Max Crosby accounted for 13 pressures and 11 quarterback hurries. I know that Trayvon Diggs is getting a ton of hype for Defensive Player of the Year right now, but Max Crosby has to be in that top 5 conversation. He is one of the only things making this Raiders defense work.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, on the flip side, former first round pick Jonathan Abram was targeted 9 times for 9 completions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. It was not pretty for the Raiders on the defense. And then when you're flipping the other side to the Raiders offense, it just looks bad. This looks like a dysfunctional team right now in Las Vegas, and you can't blame them. But just look at what's gone on for the last month. They lost their head coach. They lost both of their first round picks from just a year ago. I can only imagine how that locker room right now is held together by just like gossamer sinew, just trying to keep everything in place, and everything else is pulling it apart. Their best receiver right now is a 34-year-old, 32-year-old Deshaun Jackson, who, by the way, had one of the worst fumbles I have ever seen. He got behind the defense. Derek Carr slightly underthrows him, and Deshaun Jackson, instead of doing this thing, it's crazy. You know, when you catch the ball behind the defense, you want to keep running towards the end zone because that's where you score points. He actually turned back towards the defender, got tackled, and got the ball punched out. And I really think after that it was a close game up until that point, but that's one of those just back-breaking plays where the Chiefs took the ball and came down and scored afterwards. I think the Chiefs played well. I think they got a little bit of their mojo back. I'm interested to see if they're going to carry it against Dallas. Again, I don't think they match up great against the Dallas defense. Dallas defense is going to play a lot of that Seattle cover 3. That's one of the things that Dan Quinn has brought to that team, and has really, really had them come together as a secondary and getting great pass rush as well. The Raiders right now, we just a couple weeks ago we were talking about them as a top 10 team. I think
they're gone. They're gone.
I think that this is more than just an on the field issue. I think this is going to become a locker room issue because you have a team that was looking so promising, and when so many unfortunate events happen back to back to back to back, I just don't think that they have the morale to overcome it. So, Great win by the Chiefs. I'm unfortunate loss by the Raiders. I hope they can pull it out. I'm a Derek Carr fan, but I don't see a way for the Raiders to turn this around this season.
Basically, we're saying we think this was more of the Raiders losing than it was the Chiefs winning.
100%. It was bad coaching on the offensive side. It was bad coaching on the defensive side. It was a bad game by the Raiders, and I'm not seeing a lot of ways for them to kind of get out of this slump.
Yep. And up next, the Babble of the Beltway favorite Rob hot take of the season. Y'all knew this was coming back. Don't even sit here and act surprised. Controversial statement. The Panthers will win the NFC South. Now, right now, you're probably like, oh, here we go. Rob again with this whole Panthers are a good team spiel that we heard after week 3 and week 4. This time it's different. And here's why it's different. The Buccaneers are on a slide. The Saints still look good, but they are with Trevor Siemian now as their number 1. And their plan was to have Jameis Winston as their number 1. The Panthers, as I have described them, they are a playoff caliber team with a Sam Darnold problem. So what happens when you take that Sam Darnold problem and you remove it? You beat the Arizona Cardinals 34-10. The Panthers beat the brakes off of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I understand that some people will immediately say, but Rob, it was the Arizona Cardinals backups. But the Arizona Cardinals backups beat the brakes off the 49ers last week. So I don't want to hear that it's not a capable group. They just went out and dominated the 49ers last week. The Panthers, not so much. So the Panthers, they have a dominant defense. They have a top 5. If you're being very, very strict, you could say top 10. But I would say they're closer to top 5 defense. They have a pretty strong set of skill positions, with McCaffrey being obviously one of the best players in the league, and now that he's back. So what happens when the turnover machine gets injured and gets benched? Well, you start winning. And more so than that, it's not only the lack of turnovers, but it's the leadership. Cam Newton is just this beacon of energy that inspires the players around him. You could see the entire team play different. It's not players yelling at their quarterback on the sideline. It's now players believing in themselves and believing in their team. That's a dangerous combo when you're trying to play against guys like this and they believe in themselves and they have a good defense and they have a really talented running back and some talented wide receivers. Beautiful moment of the game was when Cam Newton comes in. First snap in the red zone is a Cam Newton rushing touchdown, and it was like some weird, like, religious ascension almost, where he takes off his helmet slowly, looks right into the camera, and exclaims, "I'm back!" Sometimes
ran over like 3 people on that touchdown. I know. He looked like classic Cam Newton. It was great.
Yeah, broke a couple tackles. I argue that sometimes getting a penalty is actually a good thing. Obviously, a pass interference penalty is much better than giving up a touchdown, right? I believe that a 15-yard removing your helmet unsportsmanlike conduct penalty is 100% the correct thing to do, because that revved up not only his team, that revved up the entire fan base. That was an emotional boost right there. Give them the 15 yards. We don't care about that. That got that entire team fired up. And by the way, Cam had a very good game on limited snaps. He had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. He only touched the ball like 10 times. So very impressive. Panthers look like they're back. I have them winning the NFC South. We'll see if it ends up happening or not. The Buccaneers might turn it around, but they're pretty injury riddled right now, as are the Saints. I'm very excited to see where this Panthers team goes. Speaking of injury riddled, tell us about
before we hop on to the next game, though. I think that, one of the things that really the Panthers were struggling with and that offense was struggling with Sam Darnold was pressure. They were letting up pressure left and right on the offensive line. Mobile quarterbacks take pressure off of the offensive line. The fact that Cam Newton is back there now is only going to make that O-line play better. Do I think that the Panthers will win the NFC South? I don't know. But I do think that Cam Newton is going to be a massive upgrade over Sam Darnold. The only thing that really remains is how well can Cam Newton master this Joe Brady offense, and then how can they incorporate some of his mobility. But it's definitely good to see him back in the blue and black. It seems like it's just the right thing.
Like he's the chosen one returning.
Seeing him in a Patriots uniform just did not seem right. All right, moving on. We have the Saints at the Titans. Titans take it 23-21. Now, our controversial statement is that the Titans are going to finish in the AFC as the number 1 playoff seed, but they're going to be the worst team in the AFC playoff bracket, and I actually think they probably would have a first-round exit. I don't think the Titans look good, and the problem is they are missing their best player, which is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry takes the pressure off the rest of the team. He makes the defense have to play man-on-man on the outside, giving Ryan Tannehill easy throws. He makes it easier for the team to throw across the middle. He keeps the defense accountable. And also, he just tires the defense out and breaks off big runs. You can't just replace Derrick Henry. And right now, the Titans have been getting by. They've been winning. They had a good defensive win against the Rams last week. They had a good team win against the Saints this week. Though, I think the Saints played better than them. And I think the Saints should have won this game. There was a horrendous, this is towards the very end of the first half, Ryan Tannehill throws a end zone interception to, I believe, Marcus Williams, the Saints safety, phenomenal player. And after he throws the ball, he gets tapped on the back by a defensive end, and they throw a roughing the passer call, which is insane, because that eliminated the turnover in the red zone that allowed the Titans to score. Just I think 3 or 4 plays later. This is a 2-point game at the end of the day, and that's a 7-point swing right there. Even in the Ravens game, I'm a Ravens fan, but some of the roughing the passer penalties that we saw there were a little bit ridiculous. Javon Holland ran up to Lamar and touched him, and they threw a flag. The NFL really needs to get that straight, because this is changing the outcome of games. I think that the Saints are a much better team than people are giving them credit for. I think everyone wrote them off because Trevor Siemian is a starting quarterback right now. I think the last couple games, Trevor Siemian has done nothing but play well. If you watch the film, he was going across, he was hitting his receivers, he was making tight window throws. Mark Ingram played great, who now is the leading rusher. I think for the Saints all time after this game, which is good for him. I really think that the Titans managed to eke out a win here because of a controversial roughing the passer call. Also, I'm just gonna start the petition until Derrick Henry is back. I still think we need to rename the Titans the Tennessee AJ Browns. AJ Brown lines up out wide. He lines up in the slot. He lines up in the backfield. I'm pretty sure he was the most effective running back as well on the day in a yards per carry standpoint. I think the Titans are getting lucky in a couple of games and getting a couple of easy breaks. I can see them falling off towards the end of the year, and I still would not count out this Saints team. I think that Sean Payton is a good coach, and I think that Sean Payton is going to continue to outcoach a lot of people. So Titans managed to get the win here, but it should have been the Saints all the way.
And even though we are not big on the Titans right now, and we don't think that they're a very good team, and they probably will be the worst playoff team, they will still be the number 1 seed most likely because all of their early games were against good teams, and that's when they were at their strongest, and they won those games. They actually have the easiest strength of schedule for the remaining games of the season, and it's by a significant margin. I think the average win or the average win-loss for the rest of their games this season is like 0.36 or something. They have the easiest remaining schedule. They will most likely take the number 1 seed.
Yeah, for reference, they get to play the Texans twice. They play the Jaguars. They play the Steelers. They play the Dolphins. The only games here that are legitimately, I think, contender challenges are the Patriots. And I think the 49ers could give them a little bit of trouble. But yeah, this is a cakewalk for the Titans going forward.
Yep. All right. Our next controversial statement will be about the Rams 49ers game that we watched on Monday. Controversial statement: the Rams were better off without OBJ. Now, I know the first thing people are going to say is immediately, but Robert Woods got injured. He had his ACL tear. They needed a wide receiver to replace him. They need that position filled. I would argue that more important than filling that position is not destroying your locker room. Now, I don't think it's any secret at this point that I am not a fan of OBJ. I am not a fan of any player on a 52-man roster who single-handedly can break your locker room. And what have we seen from Odell Beckham Jr.? He single-handedly breaks locker rooms. He is a drama queen. As I said it earlier, he was the DK Metcalf before DK Metcalf was the DK Metcalf. OBJ is just such an attention ball hog distraction, and I don't think that's good. Now, with that said, we can't blame this Rams game on OBJ. Should he have been in there? No, probably not. But the Rams have lost both of their last 2 primetime games this week and last week to the Titans and 49ers in rather embarrassing fashion. Matt Stafford has thrown 2 pick sixes, 1 in each game. Granted, this game was not necessarily his fault. Kyle Shanahan, fun fact, is 5-0 against against Sean McVay in the last 5 games. Why is it that the 49ers just beat the Rams? I don't know. It's something about that offense. And what we're seeing right now is that the Rams are struggling against the run. Now, what do the Rams do well? They pressure the quarterback well. They defend people well. They defend wide receivers well, right? They are not that great at stopping the run. So the formula to beating the Rams, it appears, is don't let them get at your quarterback. Don't let them force your quarterback to throw the ball to Jalen Ramsey, who's probably going to pick it. Just run it down their throats. And that's what the 49ers did all game. All game. They ran 44 times for 156 yards. And Jimmy G basically just managed the game. He threw the ball 19 times, and most of the time when he threw it, it was to Deebo Samuel. So that's kind of a winning matchup. It's tough.
Jimmy Garoppolo, also in terms of managing the game, 6 of those 19 passes were contested catches were contested catches by the wide receivers. They pulled out 4 of them. They bailed him out all game. And once again, you look at the way the 49ers won games, their Super Bowl run season. I think there was a game where Jimmy Garoppolo threw less than 10 passes. It's take the ball out of your quarterback's hands and run the football.
Well, Deebo Samuel is a monster. Fun fact, he is leading the league for yards after catch with over 9. For reference, the second place, I believe, is A.J. Brown from the Titans, who has 6 point something. So that is a crater between first place and second place. When Deebo gets the ball, I mean, even his touchdown that he scored, he got absolutely nailed after catching it. And he just was like, oh, I'm sorry, did someone bump into me? Don't worry about it, you're fine. And then he just ran to the end zone. It's like people tackle the man and he just acts like you missed him. It's insane. And I do want to add that although Stafford had a terrible game for the Rams, his wide receivers had 6 drops. And we're not talking like, oh, it was contested catch. No, we're talking like wide open, hit the hands, dropped. Higbee had a couple. The pick 6 was on a dropped ball as well. So just Rams are looking really not great. They're trying to put together like the Lakers or something. They're trying to put together a super team. The Golden State Warriors from like a couple years back. I don't love it. I feel like locker room cohesion is more important than trying to pick up like superstars over the hump like in their latter years. So I don't think I necessarily agree with this like assembling the Infinity Stones strategy that the Rams have. I don't think it's a good call, and I don't like it. I think OBJ was a bad decision.
And that's the thing. First of all, I think we need to take a look at Tyler Higbee's betting history because he had to have a prop bet on someone on the 49ers getting a pick six because he handed that ball off pretty much after that drop. It was just right to the defender. It was ugly, but I mean, really, I think that OBJ was the problem with the Rams offense this. Yeah, of course they got down early. They couldn't run the ball. I think they only ran the ball a total of 10 times. And a big part of that offense is effectively running the football. But another big part of the Rams offense and McVay's offense across the years was running an up-tempo, no-huddle offense. You can't do that when your wide receiver 2 doesn't know the playbook. It was, I don't think, do I think that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to pay dividends to the Rams? I think he will. Granted, he's on like a $6 million contract with the Rams. They're not paying a lot for him. And the potential production against the amount of money they're actually paying him is pretty great. But he's got to learn the playbook first. He had no business being out there this week.
By the way, there was some drama about that because people had alleged that the Rams held back the news on Robert Woods' ACL tear and concealed that until after the OBJ signing was completed to try to get less money. That rumor was going around. I don't know how true that is, but that would be extra spicy.
Yeah, I think that the Rams are going to be okay. I mean, every team can hit a rough spell, but they need to get Odell Beckham Jr. Up to speed on that playbook because they can't run the kind of offense that they want to run unless everyone is on the same page. And they are really, really feeling that loss of Robert Woods right now. Yeah. He's one of my favorite receivers in the NFL because he does it all. He plays wherever you need him to play. He blocks. He does everything that you want a wide receiver to do, and he does that at a great level. So that's a really, really tough loss for them. We'll see if they can recover, but also just I think it was a perfectly coached game by the 49ers. We are not Kyle Shanahan fans here at the podcast, but we'll give him this one.
I heard
go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I heard you have a controversial take that is going to upset one of our viewers a particularly large amount. Oh,
yeah. So last game that we're going to cover a little bit is Falcons at the Cowboys. Cowboys take it 3-43. They absolutely demolished the Falcons. The Dan Quinn revenge game narrative played out. His defense destroyed his former offense, but controversial statement, and I will stand by this and take this to my grave. I think Dak Prescott is just a slightly above average NFL quarterback who has been in the best situation in football since he started in the NFL. And to add on to that, I think that if the Cowboys had benched Dak Prescott his rookie year in favor of Tony Romo in the playoffs, the Cowboys would have another Super Bowl right now. Dak Prescott has had a top 10 offensive line his entire career. He has had significantly above average, if not great skill position players his entire career. He has been in the most fantastic situation, and I think that he is incredibly overrated. So, Mert Karagaz, that was for you. Come at me, bro. There's really not that much to discuss here. I think it was a very, very one-sided game. This is more just a Micah Parsons love fest because, oh my God, he is so good at football. Now, he was projected to be a top 5 pick originally, I think, coming out of the draft this year, but he slid due to character concerns and locker room issues and all that stuff. What's really crazy about this game is that earlier this week, Randy Gregory suffered an injury and he's out for a couple of weeks. So he was the Cowboys, I think, leading pass rusher up to that point. So what do? They put Michael Parsons, keep in mind, he's an off the ball linebacker. He rushes the passer this game and he has a 94.9 pass rushing grade, according to PFF. Just for reference, the best pass rushing grade for a player throughout this whole season is Max Crosby with a 92.7. So I know that, and Trayvon Diggs got another pick, whatever. Micah Parsons, offensive rookie of the year. He's phenomenal. The Cowboys offense fired on all cylinders. It was an easy, soft matchup for them. And what was really great too is we got a Josh Rosen appearance. And fun fact, Josh Rosen still sucks. He's still very, very bad. He went 1 for 6 and threw an interception. So I remember him telling everyone that the 9 players picked before him, all those teams are really, really going to regret it. I think all those teams are completely fine.
Oh, definitely. All right. Very quickly, I'm going to just recap over the rest of the games of the week. If I was to have a controversial statement about this one, it would be that the Lions are the best winless team in NFL history. Lions and Steelers tie at 16-16. They have not lost every game this year. Very proud of the Lions for getting their first half win of the season. Patriots
either team wanted to win that game, by the
Neither.
way. Deontay Johnson fumbled like the game-winning play for the Steelers. And then I think that Lions game-winning kick attempt was probably one of the worst kicks I have ever seen in my life.
It was very bad. Patriots steamroll the Browns 45-7. Jacoby Myers gets his first touchdown of his career. Baker played horrifically bad. Apparently 1/8 of his passes were turnover-worthy plays. Doesn't surprise me. Jaguars have become the trap game of everyone's schedule. They barely lose to the Colts 17-23 after making a fourth quarter comeback. Packers shut out Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf throws a hissy fit and gets ejected. Packers win 17-0. And finally, Eagles beat the Broncos 30-13. Their little cowboy victory streak came right to an end, and the Broncos ran into the buzzsaw of the Philadelphia Eagles. I guess that's what the NFL tells me.
I think, and actually, just for our listeners, if you're not watching the podcast on YouTube, you know, the two of you that probably watch our YouTube videos, Zach Miles is here now. He is in the building. He is alive. He is well. And it's great because I wanted his opinion here. The Eagles, I think, are in one of the most interesting positions right now in the NFL. They have projected 3 first-round picks next year. I don't think there's any way Carson Wentz doesn't play 75% of the Colts snaps this year unless there's some horrific injury. And, you know, I hope he doesn't get injured. The Colts are a good team. So the Eagles are projected to have the 5, the 10, and the 15 pick right now. Jalen Hurts right now is the 14th highest graded passer by PFF, and he's on pace for, through 17 games, 4,600 total yards of offense, 31 touchdowns. That's being about 3,700 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 9 picks, along with 930 yards rushing and 9 rushing touchdowns. What do you do if you're the Eagles? Do you try and get a quarterback or a more traditional quarterback in this coming draft, or do you build around Jalen Hurts? Because I feel like Jalen Hurts has improved every week this season. He is consistently getting better. And also, show me Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott, and I'll show you the same player. Don't at me, Mert.
So I would say, I guess just the way that I feel about it, right? What's up, y'all, by the way? I'm happy to be on the podcast again. If I'm struggling a little bit, I apologize. I'm going to work through it for you guys because I love you guys. So all 18 of you. So if I am the Eagles, I'm probably, especially considering the quality of quarterbacks this year, if you don't have the first or second overall pick, which is probably going to be where the top quarterbacks go this year, I just build around your current guy. So like, no matter how much I hate to say it, I think that the Eagles actually have something in Jalen Hurts. And I like Jalen Hurts, so I'm happy for him. I'm just sad it's in Philly. And I think if Nick Sirianni can find a way to actually be an architect of the offense and really build it around him, I mean, man, they could be monsters. They could be so good. 3 top 15 picks. They could also hypothetically trade 2 of those picks, or Jalen Hurts with one of those picks up to get the first overall pick, and then put somebody like Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, Matt Corral, maybe Sam Howell, but I doubt it. Any of these like young quarterback prospects, and they could stack them with it. But like, to answer your question, if I'm the Eagles, I'm sticking with Jalen Hurts for at least another year. Mm-hmm. He hasn't even had 16 career starts yet. Let the guy have an opportunity to grow and develop. The NFL is not an instant success route. So many guys have shown us that. And yeah, you're going to have people who are amazing as soon as they start playing. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Luck was really good when he first started. Joe Burrow was awesome last year. Kyler Murray was pretty decent his rookie season. But then, for the most part, you're going to have guys who need at least a little bit of time to adjust to the game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have the exceptions on the back end, too, the bad guys. The Josh Rosens, as you liked to mention earlier, of the NFL. So if I'm the Eagles, man, I'm building around Jalen. And then if he sucks 2023, I'm trying to grab Bryce Young in every single way that I can. That sounded weird when I phrased it that way. But just understand that was not meant in a weird way.
So what I heard was that the Eagles should trade Jalen Hurts for Nick Foles. Sounds good. Thanks, Zach. All right, let's move on to our next segment.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Next up, we have Earth, Wind, and Fire, where we tell you who had the best rushing attack, Earth, passing game, Wind, and defense, Fire. Up first for the Earth Award. This award is going to go to both the Steelers and Lions. If the game ended in a tie, so can the award. Both teams had 100-yard rushers in DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris. Were those the 2 worst starting quarterbacks in Week 10? Probably. So hand the ball off and hope you can get something done with it. Both 100-yard games, pretty impressive. Game was a tie. Award is a tie as well. Zach, tell us about Wind.
For Wind, we have none other than a little bit of a throwback, Patrick Mahomes. My man's went 35 for 50, 405 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just make sure you never call him Pat. He hates the name Pat, just like my buddy Patrick Harity, who has listened to this podcast. So if you're out there, stop saying Pat Mahomes because he hates it. Anyways, the Chiefs offense looked potent. They looked good. They looked like they were clicking again. And, everything was just kind of working the way that it should with the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill was catching bombs and catching mid-level passes, and Travis Kelce was moving the chains. What are you going to do about it? I know what I'm going to do about it. I'm giving the Wind Award to Patrick Mahomes. Sergi, tell us about Fire.
Does Patty Mahomes not work?
I don't know.
That's a great question.
You should tweet. Find out.
We gotta
ask him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, firework. We got Cowboys. We already covered this, but the Dan Quinn revenge game against the Falcons. I gushed about Micah Parsons. Oh my gosh,
I hate him.
But he's so good
he's so good, but I hate him. I hate that he's good at football. For Dallas.
It was Micah Parsons dominated. Trayvon Diggs caught a bunch of caught an interception. What do you want to do? The Cowboys defense is for real to get this week's Fire Award.
All right, let's move on to our other awards for the week. Up first, we have the I Don't Think That's Legal award, and that goes to Dolphins lineman Robert Hunt for catching a ball on a screen as an ineligible player and then giving the highest effort play of the week and front flipping over a player being literally upside down with only his helmet touching the ground to score a touchdown. Obviously, that was an illegal touching penalty, and they called that back, and I don't even know why he bothered to run into the end zone, but wow, that was cool, and really
My man's
pumped
at
up
heart.
the Dolphins. Yeah, I
Man's at
had
heart.
so much respect for that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but that was super cool. Even as a
It was
Ravens
fun.
fan, that was super cool.
Yeah. I'll go ahead. I'll get us on the next one. It's the Jailbreak Award. It's going to be going to DK Metcalf for getting ejected from the game and then trying to sneak back on the field and into the huddle just to get ejected again. It was one of the funniest things about that entire game. I loved every second of it. My man's got out and was trying to get back in. Didn't work.
All right. I'm going to call an audible here and change the award name. Here we have the Cheeks of Steel Award to Kwan Williams for a would-be interception. It was called back, but he essentially caught the ball with his butt. It was a pretty great play. Props to him. That man, he squats. He will Bulgarian split squats. He does hip thrusts. It's all about the booty.
Mm-hmm. Up next, we have the Running Backs Don't Matter Award. Darrell Williams of the Chiefs for mossing Jonathan Abraham in one of the most disgusting highlight reel catches of the entire week, to which the announcers said, that is an incredibly difficult catch for a wide receiver. The fact that a running back just made that play is bonkers. So congratulations to Darrell Williams. Apparently, you're also now a top 5 wide receiver. Must be nice.
Honestly,
just to clarify, Jonathan Abram. Let's get these names right, guys.
I'm sorry. Someone wrote Abraham on there. It is Jonathan Abrams.
Well, it's spelled Abraham. That's why.
No, it's not.
Oh, I don't.
Oh,
think
well,
it
I
is.
spelled it incorrectly then. So
We found
So
the
it was you.
you guys shouldn't have let me get on this podcast when I was feeling sick earlier. Sabotage. All
I
right,
should have
so
caught that.
next up, it's the Odell Beckham Jr. Cursed Voodoo Doll Award. Guys, we're getting really lengthy with these names. It's going to the Browns and the Rams for somehow both suffering from the OBJ curse in the same week.
Next up, we got the Proper Gentleman Award. My boy, my fantasy football recommendation for 7 weeks straight, Jamal Agnew, for getting this guy went 0 for 5 for targets this week. I'm just going to put that out there. But he managed to get like a 60-yard long rushing touchdown. And he had a very, very professional, courteous, formal touchdown celebration with his teammates, shaking hands, as he should. Now, if only those hands were strong enough to catch a football.
It was pretty funny because he instantly called people off and was like, don't celebrate. I'm having a really bad game. Like, don't celebrate. Just be classy. Next, we have the You Can Take the Player Out of the Lions, but You Can't Take the Lions Out of the Player award. And this award goes to Matt Stafford for 2 consecutive weeks of pick sixes. Matt Stafford is having a rough time, and the Lions has started to rub off on his wide receivers, who are now dropping every single pass that comes near them. You can take the player off the Lions, but it will always be in his heart. Congratulations, I guess, Matt Stafford.
Our last award of the week goes to one of Sergi's absolute favorite players in NFL history. It's the Josh Rosen should have been the #1 overall pick award. Long name again, and this goes to Mike White of the Jets for claiming he should have been picked first and then immediately having the worst game of his life, just like Josh Rosen.
Hey, but he got benched for another elite quarterback, Joe Flacco.
God. Now I regret coming on. I should have just stayed off for the night.
Congratulations to all of our award winners in Week 10.
Ravens Update.
Up next, we have the Ravens update. This was not a good week. And when I say this was not a good week, I mean, what? Like, what? Okay, so I'm just going to come out and say it. You know, earlier we said the Vikings are a good team. They just look bad because they got like really unlucky in a couple games and lost by one score. The Ravens are the flip of that. The Ravens are not a good team. They are not a good team. They are a bad team that keeps winning because of late game heroics and sometimes just absolute garbage things happening to the opposing team. If you think about it, there are 3 games that we had no business winning. The Chiefs game, that forced fumble should not have happened and would not happen if you play that game out 100 times. The Lions game, I don't care that Justin Tucker is the best kicker in NFL history. 66-yard field goal that bounces in off the upright. Give me a break. I'm so mad right now, I can't even remember the other game. The Colts game. They had to have their kicker get a hip injury, and we had to have Calais block a field goal, and we had to have late game heroics, 3 touchdowns, and we had to have 2 2-point conversions to get to overtime, and we had to get a touchdown. Like, come on.
Wait, you're telling me we didn't game plan all of that?
No, apparently not.
Oh my gosh.
Truth be told, we are a 3-6 team who is somehow 6-3. It is not good. We are not a good team. The only thing that kind of keeps me positive is that the rest of our division is also in shambles, except for, ironically, the Cincinnati Bengals seem to be the only team not in complete shambles right now. Can't understand that. The defense consistently letting up big plays. We saw it in the Vikings game. Justin Jefferson, huge play. Dalvin Cook, huge play. Guess what? We saw it this past week against the Dolphins. Huge play when we could least afford it. Our offensive line looks like a joke. Our play calling is absurd. Apparently, we don't know how to beat cover 0. I guess that was never something Greg Roman has ever faced before. You send a defensive back on a blitz. We just kind of let him run directly at our quarterback and then slam him into the ground. But don't worry, guys. Okay, they're blitzing us. Don't worry. We have something in the playbook for this. Let me check. That's right. We have the Hollywood Brown screen, and that's the only play in our entire playbook to counter this. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this 3 times in a row. And first, we're going to get nothing, and then we're going to get nothing. So we're just going to call it a 3rd time because, I mean, eventually it has to work, right?
3rd time. It is the charm. That is what they say.
I'm thinking about like literally any other quarterback in this situation. Like, think about what a good quarterback in this situation would do. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they would have destroyed that defense for doing that. They had all of their defensive backs 10 yards off of every single receiver on a 1st down. Why is that ball not coming out immediately? Why are we not doing a slant? Why are we not doing a quick out? I'm so furious. Zach has a question.
It's more of a statement, and I typically try not to interrupt during the Baltimore Ravens update. Just wanted to make a comment. Resident crappy football team fan here. That was really bad football.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say.
In your astute opinion, that was bad football.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to pass it off to Sergi in 1 second. The only other comments I had was that Sammy Watkins was horrible, and we got into some weird kind of Freaky Friday situation where, like, Sergi and Zach ran into each other and accidentally switched bodies, and the Baltimore Ravens became the Washington football team, and the Washington football team became the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not happy right now. I'm really not happy. I don't mind losing games. I don't even mind losing games to bad teams. What I mind is when they literally gimmick us out of the game and we are too incompetent on the coaching staff to make the most basic of changes to at least make them like try to do something different on defense. I am furious. Sergi, I don't think you're going to say anything that's going to make me less furious, but try.
Well, here's my thing. What is our travel budget for this podcast?
$0.
Okay, that's not going to work with sending me to all the Ravens games so I can leave in the start of the 4th quarter and we win because I'm 3-0 right now, baby. No, Rob touched on a lot, but we're starting to see the wheels fall off the wagon a little bit. Why? We have 15 players on IR, and it's not 15 players that are backups. We're talking about J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Ronnie Stanley, Derek Wolfe, Marcus Peters.
Our first 10 running backs.
Yeah, LJ Fort, people who were going to be starters on this team. We have 30% of an active roster on IR right now, and the majority of them were starters. You can have depth, but depth will only take you so far, and we're starting to see the limits of our depth. No team can keep pulling out starters every single week out of the practice squad. No one can do that. No one's that well coached. This is my annual call to fire Greg Roman. Greg Roman has caught lightning in a bottle a couple of times. He caught lightning in a bottle with the 49ers with Kaepernick. He caught lightning in the bottle with the Bills when he helped take them to the playoffs with Tyrod, and he caught lightning in the bottle in 2019 when Lamar Jackson won an MVP. Since then, Greg Roman, he cannot innovate. This is what happens. He does one thing well, and then he sticks to it, and the NFL catches on, and he cannot innovate. I don't know how many times I had to watch the Dolphins run a full-out blitz towards us. And for some reason, it is impossible to call a tight end option to the middle where no one is sitting. Instead, we're throwing out routes with the DB sitting on them. Thankfully, our receivers managed to catch some of them because we have some decent wide receivers. Or the fact that there was this meme going around of kind of touching on that, Greg Roman saying, yeah, this should be enough. And the meme is just the Madden play for wide receiver screen, because that's what we call nonstop. It is so frustrating to watch someone who does this just archaic passing offense. Greg Roman, I will give him credit where it is due. The man can coordinate a running attack. He is one of the best rushing coordinators in the NFL. What he does with the offensive line, he is getting good production right now out of Devontae Freeman, out of the ghost of Devontae Freeman. He cannot coordinate a passing attack. I am tired of seeing us not throw to the wide open spots of the field. I'm tired of seeing Lamar have to hold the ball because for some reason we're running Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown, the respective 1 and 2 reads on most of our plays, into the same zone of the defense. What are we thinking, that we're going to overload the defense by having them stand within 10 yards of one another? That's brilliant. That's galaxy brain stuff right now. Why don't we put that in the awards this week? And the worst part about these injuries, it's really, I'm just seeing it on the offensive line. Lamar got pressured on a third of his dropbacks. He got sacked. He got pressured 19 times, sacked 4 times. He had an average time to throw of 2.35 seconds. The NFL average is 2.89. You might think that half a second isn't a long time. Half a second is everything in the National Football League.
And by the way, those 2/3 of the plays that he was not pressured were screens to Hollywood Brown.
Well, and the problem is, here's the thing. It's not just only 9 of the 19 pressures are credited to the offensive line. Lamar's holding the ball. Lamar does not throw a lot of contested passes. He does not throw a lot of interceptions. He's actually pretty conservative with what he does with the football. But the problem is, when you do not get any of his receivers open because you're running them all to the same spot in the field, he's going to hold the ball and he's going to take a sack. It's just frustrating to watch. And on top of that, I think that we have I think we have for the first time in a long time, a very talented young wide receiver core, but we are not using them correctly at all. Rashad Bateman right now is already the best receiver on our team. All respect to Hollywood Brown. I think Hollywood Brown has had a great season. I think they used him a lot better this year. Rashad Bateman is a better route runner. Rashad Bateman has significantly better hands than Hollywood Brown. And for some reason, they just have Hollywood Brown and Rashad Bateman running on the outside. I think between the two of them, Rashad Bateman played 7 snaps in the slot. Hollywood Brown played 8. Why the hell are you not getting Rashad Bateman, who is a phenomenal route runner, has great hands, to get in the slot, go across the middle, and catch some first downs for us? Mm-hmm. That's too intense for Greg Roman. We can't do that. Give Bateman the ball. On top of that, he just for some information, he's averaging, at least in this game, he was averaging 2.5 yards per route run, just an effectiveness of, for every route run, how much are they producing wide receiver on a given offense. Marquise Brown had 0.86. Yet we continue to hyper target Marquise Brown and leave Rashad Bateman out of the game. I don't know. The defense, and here's the thing, even though our entire team is decimated, I can't even say anything bad about our defense. I mean, they held the Dolphins to minimal points, to field goals, until the tail end of the game, where they finally got by Albert Wilson a couple times on an end around. And of course, when your team is going to keep doing 3 and outs after 3 and out after 3 and out, your defense is going to get tired, and they're not going to get able to keep up with an offense. I don't think that we can be. Yes, injuries suck. Yes, we're gonna. That is something that we can't control. Maybe we need to fire our conditioning people. Goodness gracious! I don't think we can be a top caliber team until we get rid of Greg Roman. I am sick and tired of archaic play calling. I am sick and tired of irrational coaching. And it is really frustrating to just constantly watch them put everything on Lamar and putting him in bad situations over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm going to end this on a positive note. Odafe Owe is a stud. 3 hurries, a quarterback hit, a sack, and 5 tackles. If Micah Parsons was not doing what he was doing, I think Odafe Owe is a surefire rookie of the year.
Yeah. Ravens played horrible, but shout out to the Dolphins. They found a gimmicky coaching strategy that worked for 60 minutes. And let's be honest, their defenders made open field tackles. They made huge plays. They all, no one got past them. They stepped up. They made their plays. They just straight up beat the Ravens, is what it is. Hopefully next week will be a little bit better.
And now we actually, on the flip side, instead of a positive Ravens update and a depressing Washington football team update, we're going to flip the script. Zach, I think you got some good news for us right now.
Let's do it.
I will in just a second. We got to play that little intro.
Cue the soundbite.
Washington football team, I guess, update.
What's up, y'all? So, Washington football update. I'm not really that angry this week. Would you look at that? When a team wins a football game, sometimes the fans are happy. How does that work? It was also my birthday this weekend. But here's the messed up thing. I lost in 3 of the 4 fantasy football leagues that I care about. One of them by 0.5 points, actually 0.4. And then my team, of whom I want to lose every game for the rest of the year, so that way we can stand a chance at getting a quarterback, beats the GOAT and his supercharged team. What's that about, guys? I don't know. But you know what? It was cool. It was cool seeing a dub the day before my birthday, before the last year of my 30s. I'm getting old. I'm going to die soon. With that said, so the team is dumb. This team is big dumb, like dumb, like lollipops, guys. I can't explain it. They beat teams when they shouldn't, and they lose to teams when they shouldn't and should. Honestly, should. They should always lose. I hate them. I want them to lose all the time. So Montez Sweat broke his jaw 2 weeks ago. He's on IR. He's probably going to be out for at least a month, right? Chase Young tears his ACL early in this game. Everybody thinks it's over. Everybody thinks it's done. Like, there's no way. All of a sudden, the defense steps up, plays its most effective game of the year. The Bucs were held to their 3rd lowest rushing total, and when the Bucs can't run the football, they don't win, or they don't win by a lot. They only ran for less yards twice this year. Once was against the Cowboys week 1, where they won by 2 points, and that's when the Bucs looked like they were struggling. People thought the Cowboys were fake. They know that the Cowboys were real, but people also knew that the Bucs weren't indestructible at that point in time. And then number 2 was when they lost to the Saints a couple weeks ago. Those are the only 2 games in which that they rushed for less than what they did this week. This week they ran for something like 53 yards. Yeah, 53 yards. 3rd lowest total of the season. Pretty despicable to think about. Honestly, they're missing Antonio Brown more than I think that they expected to, and Rob Gronkowski as well. But still, with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, you expect them to do something. The football team, just to give you guys context of how bad things are, last week, everybody wanted Heineke gone. This week, they're like, maybe he's the guy. So it just goes to show you how short-sighted and stupid Washington football team fans are, including myself.
Maybe Dan Snyder's not that bad.
No. See,
no one says
we all agree on that. We all agree on that one thing, that he's the worst, except for about 50% of the fan base who's stupid. So I know I contradicted myself. It was intentional. So honestly, it was impressive to see the Washington football team. I'm just going to say, man, it was nice to see them have that 19 play drive. It was weird to see, but it was nice to see, because the fact that they were able to, the fact that they were able to command an offense, like Taylor Heineke was able to command an offense, complete almost, I think, a little more than 3/4 of his passes, or just under it, and just manage the game while our run game averaged, 3 yards a carry. But who cares? That was cool, because we still won the game. It was just fun to see that they actually had some level of the talent that they had last year before they went on that little bit of a run. And also an interesting parallel last year. Last year, Landon Collins was benched. Actually, no, he got hurt. He tore his Achilles last season. And as soon as Landon Collins tore his Achilles last season, the Washington football team's defense turned around. This season, one of the guys who's been bringing a lot of issues to fans' ire and to coaches, Ron Rivera even called him out, was Chase Young. Chase Young gets injured. Hate to see it. Hate to see it. Hopefully he comes back. He can be the effective player that he was 2 years ago, as opposed to this year, which he was still good this year, but just something seemed off the entire season. Hopefully he comes back. He's a good player. I want him to do well. But at the same time, part of me wonders, maybe he was part of the problem. Maybe he was part of the reason why that defense couldn't pressure the quarterback. Maybe he was part of the reason why they couldn't hold running games, opposing teams running games to smaller amounts of yards, on a per clip basis and in a total yards basis. Maybe he's part of the reason why the corners had to cover for longer than they should. So at the end of the day, it was really, it was cool. And I'm still mad about it because I wanted them to lose, but it was cool to see it. And one of my favorite things about the entire game was this massive hit that Terry McLaurin took because my man's got up and beat his chest because it was, first of all, it looked like an illegal hit. Any other game this year, that probably would have been a flag that was thrown. I'm happy it wasn't because it wasn't illegal, but it definitely looked like it. But he was hit by what felt like Sean Taylor. Like the ghost of Sean Taylor was there, whacked him, and then Terry said, "Nah, not today, bro. I'm moving forward." I mean, he's the apple of all of DC's eye, and he's gonna get paid. He needs to get paid. They have to give him everything he wants because if Terry McLaurin leaves that team, they have no heart on offense. He is the heart of the offense, and he is somebody that all the fans love and like rally behind. So I'd say probably the most iconic moment since Chase Young hit Joe Burrow last year before Joe Burrow when he was trying to rush into the end zone for a touchdown like week 8 or 9, whenever Joe Burrow tore his ACL. Probably the most iconic moment since then, at least in a victory. So anyways, I don't have a ton for you guys this week, man. I'm not that angry. I was pleasantly surprised with it.
We took the brunt of the anger this week.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But honestly, with all that said, Dan Snyder is still a cancerous tumor on the heart of the 5th most valuable team in a football team, in the world. And he should be removed via hot water or mafiosos. I don't really care what it is, but he needs to be gone still. And that will never change. And I hate this team. There you go. That's it. That's how I'm going to end it.
Sounds good. Moving on.
The future is now.
The future is now.
Up next is The Future Is Now, when we look into the future and tell you who will win the games for Week 11. Up first, New England at Atlanta for Thursday Night Football. New England is looking dominant and Atlanta is looking dominated. I expect that to continue. New England wins.
Next up, we have Indianapolis at Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is the number 1 defense in the NFL right now, and they are against one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the NFL as well. JT is elite, but not good enough to get them the dub. Dub's going to Buffalo.
Next up, we got Washington at Carolina. Zach, I'm sorry, but I think the high is over.
I want them to lose. It's okay.
I have a lot of faith in Cam Newton. I think that even if he's not perfectly in sync with Joe Brady's offense yet, he brings a lot to this team that they were missing with Sam Darnold and leadership and taking pressure off the O-line. I think Carolina takes the cake here.
Baltimore at Chicago. This is the only team with a losing record that the Baltimore Ravens will face for the rest of the year. This is a must-win game. I know that Baltimore is not a great team, but neither is Chicago. Baltimore wins.
Detroit at Cleveland. It's either going to be a get-right game for Cleveland or Detroit's going to find their way to beat a bad team. I'm going with Cleveland.
All right, next we got San Francisco at Jacksonville. The Jags cannot stop the run. Jonathan Taylor just ate them alive this past weekend. And it does not matter who the 49ers have at running back they're going to produce. Will it, with Elijah Mitchell hurt, will it be the 3rd round running back they traded up for, Trey Sermon? No, it's going to be Jeff Wilson running for 150 yards because Kyle Shanahan sucks. But the 49ers are going to win. I I don't like you, Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to emphasize that every time I can on my platform.
Just remember, Jaguars are the trap team of the NFL now. Up next, Green Bay at Minnesota. If there was a week for Green Bay to lose at Minnesota, it would be an away game. With that said, I still think Green Bay keeps it rolling. A.J. Dillon looks great. We're going to go Green Bay wins, but Minnesota keeps it close.
Miami at the Jets. The Mike White era is over. I don't think it ever started. It was a 1-game sample size, and then the second game was, oh, okay, guys, we need to relax. Dolphins are going to get the dub. I almost have no doubt in my mind the Jets are the worst team in football. But you know what? I have jinxed so many teams at this point, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm taking Dolphins.
Jets are about to go on like a 7-game win streak.
Oh, man.
With Joe Flacco. Right.
I think Zach Wilson comes back this week, actually.
Joe Flacco is going to beat him out for the starting job. Career renaissance in New York. Next up, we got New Orleans at Philadelphia, Saints at the Eagles. I think that New Orleans is going to win. Trevor Siemian has been dealing. He's been playing very well in the system. And I think Sean Payton, more importantly, is going to coach laps around Nick Sirianni. I see the Saints taking this pretty easily.
Houston at Tennessee. Wow, I really hope Tennessee learned from the Jets game. Please don't repeat that. Tennessee wins.
Cincinnati at Las Vegas. Cincinnati's going to come out of the bye and absolutely smack Las Vegas across the face, and then across the belly, and then on the bottom. They're going to spank them. They're going to win. Cincy's going to win. That's what I was trying to say here, guys. We're changing the tone of this podcast starting right now.
All right. This is one of the best games of the week on the docket right here, or at least profiles to be Dallas at Kansas City. Oof. I think that Dallas is going to take the cake here. I think that the Dan Quinn defense actually matches up really, really well against Patrick Mahomes. That being said, if the Chiefs had found their mojo and somehow got their mojo back, it might be a closer game than we thought. But at the end of the day, I think Dallas is the better team.
Arizona at Seattle. If Kyler plays, I have Arizona with a clear win. If Kyler doesn't play, I think it'll be much closer. I think Seattle will actually win because Arizona would be starting a quarterback. He has a name. I'm sure it's a great name. It's like Strevler, strep throat, something like that. It doesn't matter. Stromboli, yeah. So if Stromboli plays, I don't know how Arizona's going to do against Seattle. Seattle's defense has stepped up quite a bit in the past few weeks, so don't expect Stromboli to beat Seattle, but we're going to guess Kyler Murray plays, Stromboli sits on the bench, and the Arizona Cardinals win.
It's actually Ravioli Stromboli III. Please put some respect on his name.
We have Pittsburgh at the Chargers. It's Sunday Night Football next week.
Oof.
You know, man, if Ben doesn't play, I'm going to have to go against what we wrote here. If Ben doesn't play, I think the Chargers, because y'all know I curse them. I'm anti-cursing them now, starting right now. They're going to be great again starting this week. If Ben plays, they're going to lose, though. But if Ben doesn't play, I think the Chargers will find a way.
Oh, okay.
I petition to rename the Steelers, by the way, the Pittsburgh Najee Harrises, because that is their entire.
Even though his rushing yards over expected is the second worst in the NFL to only DeAndre Swift. Fun fact.
What does it matter when you get the ball 46 times a game? You know.
I mean, it matters because efficiency is important. So.
Nah,
my fantasy
just give me 27,000
carries. Y'all are talking about fantasy football. I'm talking about real football, all right?
Last up, we have Monday Night Football, the New York Giants at Tampa Bay. I think unless the ghost of Eli Manning comes out and possesses Daniel Jones, Tom Brady is going to eviscerate this team. He's going to eviscerate the offense and somehow play defense and eviscerate the defense because he's still pissed off at Washington for what they did to him this week.
Serge, I have a question about that game. Saquon Barkley, will he get injured in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, or the fourth quarter of this game? What's your prediction?
I actually think it's going to be a surprise inactive. He's going to hurt his ankle again during practice this week.
Oh, God.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
R.I.P. Saquon, man.
Oh, gosh.
Fishing for fantasy.
Our final segment of this podcast, Fishing for Fantasy, where we name players and then they probably play. Sometimes they don't, or they're out for COVID. They might have a good game, or they might not. Let's name some players, guys. Up first, we have Trevor Siemian. This is Sergi's personal favorite. Owned 3.7% of leagues. The Saints are still a good offense, and he played well enough against the Tennessee defense, who's been doing well recently. When Alvin Kamara comes back, you will immediately have an opportunity for more points because sometimes you throw like a 2-yard pass to Alvin Kamara and it turns into an 85-yard touchdown. And we like that. We do like that. So Trevor Siemian, option to pick up. Not saying necessarily start him right away, but he has potential.
Second quarterback pickup that we're going to be suggesting for this week is actually one of my favorite players in the NFL, and I'm happy to see that he's back where he started, Mr. Cam Newton. Cam is surprisingly rostered in 12.6% of leagues already, which is kind of crazy to think about because he hasn't been on a team this year. But he's a hold right now. I wouldn't start him. I would pick him up if you need a second quarterback or if you're in a 2 QB league, absolutely pick him up. Joe Brady runs an elite offense. Cam is the kind of quarterback that he's been waiting for. Cam has so much talent still, in my opinion, to this day. And it's been now 2 years since Brady had a good quarterback to work with, a.k.a. Joe Burrow. So 100% pick up Cam. The guy is, he scored. He's the first player in NFL history. Sorry, guys. I promise I will end this in just a second. I just can't stop gushing over Cam. But he's the first player in NFL history to, on his team, because he was cut and came back, on his first attempts for the team, score a touchdown when he's rushing the football on his first attempt, and then score a touchdown passing the football on his first attempt.
Yeah. 11.72 fantasy points on 7 total snaps.
Yeah, it's
insane.
All right, next up, we've got Mac Jones, about 14% owned right now. He's a good stream this week. The Atlanta Falcons just gave up 431 yards of offense, including 317 passing yards. So it's a soft matchup. They're opening up the playbook to Mac now. So put McCorkle Jones in your lineup with confidence against the dismal Falcons defense.
All right, moving on to running backs. We have big boy A.J. Dillon, a.k.a. Zach for Legs. This guy is rostered in 45% of leagues, but he is going to be the starting running back, and I would argue he's actually an RB1 for this upcoming week. Aaron Jones will be out for 1 to 2 weeks with a mild MCL strain, I believe it was. A.J. Dillon already gets a significant portion of the red zone work. If it's ran in, it is A.J. Dillon. He just dropped 27 points in PPR leagues against the Seahawks. I expect him to have a big game this week. If you need to start a running back, this is probably the guy who you should be starting. He will most likely be top 10 fantasy points for a running back this week.
Next up, we have a guy who I loved when he came out of college. His career has not worked out so far due to a multitude of injuries. And he was out of the league last year, pretty much, for lack of better words. Deontay Foreman. He's only rostered in 1.6% of leagues, despite the fact that he's actually put up solid numbers on a per carry and efficiency basis over the last 2 weeks. He had 13 total touches this week. All the running backs that have been ineffective or inefficient over the last few games when it comes to the Titans, but he is the guy that you would probably want as the most, I guess you could say, whole running back, somebody who can potentially replicate what it is that Derrick Henry does to an extent. He's got similar size. You know, he's 6'1", 236. He can take a beating when he stays healthy, and he's a momentum runner. So he's somebody of whom, if he can just stay healthy, man, he could put up a solid 12 to 14 points every single week.
All right. Next up, we got Ramondre Stevenson, 29.1% on New England running back. Now, here on this podcast, we take our own advice. And you know what? Zach and I, in our joint fantasy league this week, we started Ramondre Stevenson. And you know what? Looking back at last week, we started Van Jefferson too. And we lost by 0.5 points, despite Van Jefferson getting 3 red zone targets to end the game.
It was painful.
That is heartbreak. But Ramondre Stevenson had a great game, 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 TDs. More importantly, he also had 5 targets and 5 catches, I believe. He caught all of his targets. He can do it all. He's the most talented running back on the New England Patriots right now. Do I think he's going to immediately eat into Damian Harris's workload? No. I think Damian Harris, he was back in practice today. He's going to come back and he's probably going to start. But I think Ramondre Stevenson is starting to profile as the immediate backup, and Damian Harris has an injury history. If Damian Harris goes down with injury and Ramondre Stevenson is earning Belichick's trust, you could potentially have a league-winning running back here. But he should be rostered, I think, in all formats.
Moving on to wide receivers. First up, we have Traquan Smith from New Orleans. He is 1.7% rostered. Now, he was injured earlier in the year, but he is slowly coming back into the offense. Michael Thomas is out for the year, which means that wide receiver 1 role is wide open for someone to take advantage. Last game, he got 7 targets. Not sure that he's worth starting yet, but he might be someone worth stashing and seeing where that goes, and if he ends up being a favorite target of Simeon.
Second wide receiver we're going to recommend this week is Marcus Johnson for Tennessee. If you don't know who that is, that's okay. He's rostered in 0% of leagues. He was a guy who I don't really think many people expected to have a lot of play this year, between Westbrook Nickel not panning out, Julio going on IR again, AJ Brown being on and off this year. The guy has actually had a surprising amount of snaps that he's been able to play the past few weeks. And also Josh Reynolds asking for his release as well. Anyways, dude is 6'1", runs a 4.39 40. He's an athletic specimen. I don't know much about him as a wide receiver talent. Once again, there's not really a lot. I think that most people, unless you were following the draft very, very closely over the past couple of years, would know about him. But he is a stash in deeper leagues in case you need a potential spot start. He's developing some level of rapport with Ryan Tannehill, I'm sure. And honestly, he needs a fast guy. AJ Brown's fast, but this guy's faster.
All right, next up, we've recommended this guy before, and we're going to recommend him again. Wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jamal Agnew, owned at 9.4% of leagues. Now, you might be saying, Sergi, this guy had 5 targets and caught 0 of them this week. He also has, I think, a 25% drop rate right now. Why are you recommending this guy? Because he had 3 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. I don't know if y'all remember, but Urban Meyer really, really wanted Kadarius Toney in the draft because he wanted that gadget player he was going to use in his offense. He got Travis Etienne because he wanted a gadget player he could use in his offense. Jamal Agnew is being used in that role in this offense. And what that tells me is that the usage is going to be there. He is an explosive, shifty, tackle-breaking player. He is incredible when he gets the ball in his hands. He's not the best receiver, but it doesn't matter because Jacksonville is trying to get the ball in his hands. I think he should be rostered because he gives you a very safe floor with his targets. He has rushing upside, and if you get lucky, you might get a special teams return out of him.
Mm-hmm. Next up, tight ends. Tyler Conklin. I told you once. I told you twice. I'll tell you again. You still haven't picked him up. He's still available in your league. You listen to the podcast. You hear me say it. Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you pick him up? The only person that you have to be mad at is yourself. We keep telling you, this guy is the number 3 right now in the Vikings offense. 3 touchdowns. I don't know. Maybe pick him up this time, guys. I'm only going to be able to tell you 4 or 5, 6 times before he's gone in your league. And then you're going to be like, but Rob, I missed him. And I'm going to be like, well, that's on you, man. That's on you.
Tyler Conklin is what Jawan Johnson would have been in a better universe.
Even though they don't profile to each other at all, right?
Not at all. But I'm just saying low-ish targets and high touchdown percentage rate.
What are you talking about? He gets like 5 or 6 targets a game.
Yeah, Jawan Johnson got like 3 to 5 a game.
Jawan Johnson
1 to 2.
Got like 2 to 2.
Also, wait. Hold on. We're going to argue real quick because Minnesota has one of the highest attempts per game compared to somebody like the Saints, who started the season with like 22 pass attempts per game. They did not throw the football. There's a lot more volume to go around in Minnesota. So you take that back. You take that back right now,
sorry.
Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me.
Adam Troutman is the tight end to own in New Orleans. If anyone
There's no tight end to own in New Orleans, all right? It's bad. It's bad down there. All right. We're going to go to the guy. I need to calm down. We're going to go to the guy that I have written on here so many times to start the year, and then Sergi started taking over our fantasy stuff, and he agrees with me. Once again, Dan Arnold, he's still available. Trevor Lawrence is a rookie quarterback. He's going to continue to do what rookie quarterbacks do, generally speaking, which is target his tight end. I mean, he's rostered in still only 28% of leagues. That's less than Tyler Conklin, Mr. 5 targets a game, 3 touchdowns. Oh, look at him. You know,
elite tight end.
Oh God, it's just hurts. That's all. It really just hurts that Jawan Johnson didn't work out. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's why I didn't get that job earlier this year. So, with all of that said, Dan Arnold, 4 weeks in a row, he has had he's been owned in less than 30% of leagues, and he has had no less than 18% target share. Pick him up. The guy has been and will be a baller for the rest of the year.
All right. Last up for tight ends, we have tight end for the Seattle Seahawks, Gerald Everett. Now, fun fact, Gerald Everett was actually Sean McVay's first ever draft selection. But they also picked, I believe, Tyler Higbee as well, and they extended him. So Gerald Everett's on Seattle now. He just came off 8 targets for 8 catches for 63 yards. He is the clear number 3 option in what is still going to be a good passing attack in Seattle once Russell Wilson heals up. He's essentially a wide receiver that plays tight end. I could see him taking over the slot role because Seattle really has 2 outside receivers. And he was building some rapport with Russell Wilson before he had some injuries, and then Russell Wilson got hurt. I think that he's a good pickup, and he's a decent rest of season starter.
And finally, for the defensive pickup in the week, need I say it again? Follow the Jets. Every week I say the same thing, and if you listen to me, with the exception of that one Titans week, we've been right every single time. Imagine if you followed the Jets last week. Imagine. You would have won. You would have won.
Cincinnati Bengals beg to differ as well.
Yes, that as well. But Miami defense just came off of a dominant performance against the Ravens. Now, do I expect cover 0 to completely destroy Mike White? Sure, why not? So take it against the Jets. The Jets offense loves turning the ball over. They are the team giving the most points to defenses. Miami defense has really stepped up their game in the past few weeks. And apparently they just know the correct gimmick to pull out during that given week. Still very salty. This is the part of the podcast where Zach says social media things.
Yes, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for listening, guys and ladies. Anybody, honestly, dogs too. Thank you. But we're really happy. I'm trying not to. That's what I was trying to recover from. That's why I said dogs. Because everybody can listen, and we're very inclusive here, except for Cowboys fans. So sorry, Mert. Hang up the phone. Anyways, I'm moving on. All right, so thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all y'all so much. We just recently broke 250 downloads in total, which is really nice to see. We work hard at this. Sergi and Rob both really shoulder it. I just show up and play. You know what I mean? I'm like Boobie Miles or Deion Sanders. I'm just here, bro. Practice. Don't talk about practice. I'm Allen Iverson, baby. Nah, man. Socials, follow us on Twitter. Sergi, I think, actually started to be a little more active on the Twitter, which was nice. Unless it was Rob. I don't know.
I don't do the internet.
Okay. Yep, that's fair.
It wasn't me either. Who was it?
Oh, it was definitely Sergi after that corny joke. So it was definitely Sergi. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. We have no content on TikTok yet because I'm too afraid to pull the trigger on a bad video. But we'll have TikTok content soon. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to Babble of the Beltway. As always, I'm Zach Miles.
I'm Rob Sahutsky.
I'm Sergi Feldman.
We'll see you next time.